Lost Highway is a David Lynch movie. It was released in 1997 and it stars Bill Pullman, Patricia Arquette and Robert Blake. And this was weird. And this is something that pretty much you can say about every David Lynch movie. But this was something completely different. And I loved it. Truly, truly loved it. There are a couple of problems today with the movie, of course, but it is such a weird movie with non-linear storytelling, weird-ass editing, interesting performances that it's very hard to describe without spoiling it, and at the same time spoiling the movie is not going to make it easier to understand, because I'm not gonna lie, I did not get 100% this movie. I did not. And that's kind of the point, I think. I've searched online, there are thousands and thousands of analyses, of reviews about this movie that are always trying to understand what it is. It's a sci-fi movie, is it a noir movie, double bodies and whatnot? I don't know. I don't know, and honestly, I don't really care. This movie is one of those movies that qualifies as an experience. You just sit down and you get carried away by what is going on screen, and it is absolutely mesmerizing to watch. The first half of the movie, more or less, that stars Bill Pullman and Patricia Arquette, it was intense. It is incredibly subtle, and it's about this middle-high class couple who starts receiving some very, very disturbing videotapes at their home. And I just don't want to say anything more about this, but the first act pretty much has nothing scary per se, but I was tense as hell from the very beginning to the end of that part. I was borderline going to have a panic attack. It was incredible with the use of lighting, with the use of dark, with the use of the color red. It was intense, one of the most intense moments I've experienced in a movie in a long time, and probably a lot of people are going to find it boring, but for me it worked perfectly. And then we get to a second part of the movie where we switch up the characters a bit, and we have another character that we're going to follow with another story, and that's the only real issue that I have with the movie, unfortunately, because I kind of understand some of the meaning behind using this character, but at the same time it moved a little bit too slowly, and it was just like, okay, he's not as interesting as Bill Pullman's story, but let's get going. But it immediately changed as soon as Patricia Arquette popped up again. I was like, okay, this is going to be fantastic, and it was. This is a one-of-a-kind movie, it really is. And Robert Blake, boy, he's pretty much the only real thing that I've ever seen about this movie before watching it. It was always his face and that pale makeup, that performance. It's creepy. It's incredibly creepy, and this movie has a lot of creepy ass moments. Moments that are not going to work for everyone, and that's completely fine. But for me it worked wonderfully. I don't want to say anything more about this movie. It looks great, it is very intense, it has high rewatchability, and it is an intense story about duality, a story about cinema in some way, about fantasy and about dreams. And David Lynch has always created dreamlike, surreal movies, and this one felt like one of those crazy-ass nightmares, you know? When you're sleeping at night and you start dreaming as if you were someone else, and you start seeing people that you actually know in real life, even though you are in some place that you've never been to, with playing pretty much someone that you are not. It's like one of those dreams, and it was wonderful. It was wonderful. So I highly recommend you check out Lost Highway if I kind of intrigued you, and you should check it out just for completing your David Lynch filmography if you started it. So far it's not my favorite one, Blue Velvet is still on top, but it is definitely one of the most disturbing ones that really got to me, and it was a great ass experience. But still guys, Have you watched Lost Highway? What do you think about it? Tell me in the comments below. Thanks guys for watching. To like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.